This is modern China. Big cities, towering concrete apartment blocks, choking traffic. With the pace of development, there's rarely time to consider China's ancient past. Aesthetics, say the critics, are also being lost in the race to build abodes for the millions of workers pouring into China's cities.
In the past, because China is such a huge country, every region had its own styles and features. But today, we can't see that anymore.
We've come to the outskirts of Beijing to see a small but significant exception to that. Bai Shuyuan is an antique collector. He started out collecting paintings, porcelain and furniture. Suffice to say, his collection's blossomed well beyond that now. Since the mid-80s, he's been collecting whole Ming Dynasty period houses. At last count, he'd bought around 200. His obsession began on an antique collecting trip with a friend to the mountains of Anhui in central China.
We began to understand the people who tore down these houses didn't want much for them, so we thought maybe we could afford to buy them. I was thinking that collecting these single pieces from a Hui house wouldn't be as valuable as collecting the entire Hui house itself.
And so that's what he did. This is that house, now relocated and rebuilt in Beijing. Not that it happened overnight. The 400-year-old house sat in storage for decades until Bai Shuyuan had enough money to buy land to rebuild it in 2007. It's an example of what Chinese art historians generally consider to be the apex of Chinese architectural styles.
The destruction of these houses is a dissonant sound in the development of China's society. It took 1,000 years for the Hui-style house to originate and be established as a mature style.
The house was originally built as a meeting hall in a prosperous Hui village at a time when Chinese culture was flourishing in a period of peace following centuries of almost constant war.
Huizhou has a lot of mountains and rivers, but not much land. If you want to build something valuable on a small piece of land, you have to adorn it with fine human craftwork. So because of the limited availability of land, but plentiful supply of money, the typical Hui style was highly cultivated. It will have carved beams, carved pillars, and all kinds of carvings on bricks, wood and stone. They're all exquisite.
One thing the houses were missing, though, amenities like heating and modern plumbing. Back in the 1980s, just as China's economic miracle was taking off, peasants whose families had been living in the houses for generations were only too happy to sell cheaply to developers to move into modern flats. Bai Shuyuan bought as many as he could as his own business interests began to take off, dismantling the houses piece by piece and transporting them to Beijing for storage. His first house is now the prototype for an even more ambitious project, an entire village of Ming Dynasty-era shrines, dwellings and meeting halls that he's collected over the years. This is the second house Mr. Bai's team is rebuilding, one that's bigger and more complicated than the first. Where the 450-year-old beams haven't survived the ravages of time, Mr. Bai's trained a team of artisans to create copies of the original pieces to substitute.
The process is really complicated and detailed work. You need to focus your mind on every single little detail. You've got to stuff all of that into your brain, and then you see what it was like in the past and what's available now if you restore these pieces, to restore it to exactly what it was like before.
Despite the thousands of man-hours that have already gone into the painstaking task of tearing down and then rebuilding this grand old dame, the work's really only just begun. This is just a trial run to see which of the old bricks and beams will stand up to the rigours of modern life and which will need replacing. And when that's done, she'll be torn down again and rebuilt somewhere else. The list of places where Mr. Bai would like to see that happen is almost as intriguing as the old building herself. Mr. Bai wants to build 10 Hui villages from his collection of houses, 5 in China in the Hui area where he first bought them, and 5 in foreign countries, including Australia. Before each house in each village is constructed on the site, there will be a test building here first at his prototype village in Beijing. By 2035, some 50 years after he bought his first complete Hui house, Mr. Bai hopes to have completed his villages and a remarkable half-century effort to preserve a unique architectural style. It's an effort, he says, others in China are already beginning to appreciate.
The economy has developed to the stage where average people have begun to have a higher appreciation for culture and art. Their attitude towards the Hui-style homes changed from "who cares" to "I love them very much."
The houses he once bought for as little as $500 now sell for more than 100 times that, if a seller can even be found. And that, more than anything, has halted the demolition of Hui houses for now.